Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. Where do I even start? Oh, I know. How about we start with ending the season 3-14 and being the worst team in the fucking league, and also having the privilege of being the worst Bears team ever assembled. I just want you guys to understand that I made the decision to be a fan of this team. No one forced me. I made that choice on my own. I'm a fan of this team, and it fucking sucks. However, I will say this. As someone who considers themselves more of a realistic fan within the fan base, I can say this team, it was awful. It was terrible. It was the worst season the Bears have ever had. But, on the plus side, there were some bright spots. Justin Fields, as much hate as he got from a lot of people, he showed flashes of improvement. Drastic improvement. The thing is that he needs a lot of help. I guess you could say the good news is that we got the first round pick. If you even want to celebrate that, but if there's any chance that we can get any sort of positive results heading into next season, you know what? I'll take it. I'm just honestly looking forward to the draft because we could get guys like maybe Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, anything that could really help out with the defense or the offensive line for that matter. Just something, anything that can either protect Fields or just stop the run because our run defense was just shit. It was not good. Here's looking forward to the draft.
I'm retiring.
Well, bad news, Bucs fans. Your one chance at winning yet another Super Bowl is gone because Tom Brady literally just retired this morning. Goddamn. Well, look on the bright side. At least you guys actually made it to the playoffs. Granted, you guys went 8-9 and won the worst fucking division in all of football. But a playoff berth is still a playoff berth, and if I'm going to be honest, this might be the last playoff berth that this team sees for quite a while. Because now that Tom Brady's gone, it's going to be rough. And I mean really rough for this team. You saw how rough it was already. Now that Brady's gone, expect this team to not even make the playoffs next year.
Wide receiver, we never gonna lose again.
Oh, how about them Cowboys? It's okay, guys. It's just a bump in the road. We're gonna make it next year. Next year's our year for sure. Next year for sure. We're going to the Super Bowl next year. We them boys. This next year, all year. Okay, so look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not one to really shit on a team or a player very often, but I will say this. For the Cowboys, I think Dak Prescott might just be a little overrated. To be fair, my expectations for the Cowboys this year were pretty mediocre at best. I was expecting them to get around about 11 wins, somewhere around within that range. And you know what? They exceeded my expectations and won a playoff game for that matter. But they did what the Cowboys always do best, and that is crumble under pressure. I honestly think that the sun might be setting on this Dallas team. I'm not even going to lie. Or at least it's setting on their chances at making it to the Super Bowl. Because they got a good team. It's just they cannot get it done in the big time. And that is becoming a huge problem, especially for a team such as the Cowboys. Is Dak the answer? That is a big question that the Cowboys have to answer come the offseason. Is Dak Prescott the guy? Do they want to keep Dak Prescott? Do they want to move on from him? Do they clean house? Or do they keep the guys that they already have? I guess we'll find out in the offseason. But until then, just remember Robbie Gould will always be your daddy come the postseason.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
For a lot of Super Bowl teams, there's this little thing called the Super Bowl hangover. This, for the Rams, it was more than just a hangover. No, this was a Super Bowl coma, which makes sense considering it felt like they were asleep throughout the entire season. From going to the highest of highs, beating Cincinnati in the Super Bowl, to the lowest of lows, being the worst Super Bowl winning team of all time, only just to finish 5-12 the very next year. I guess you could say the Rams really did sell their soul because, my God. It's one thing for the losing team in the Super Bowl to fall off. Just look at the Falcons. Went from going to the Super Bowl to not even making it to the playoffs for years. That makes sense. But the champs falling off as hard as they did, you don't see that very often. And in all honesty, I think the fall off continues. I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was this year, but man, next year, expect the Rams to be extremely mid. But I mean, hey, at least you guys got Baker Mayfield, so at least there's that, I guess. You mean to tell me that the Green Bay Packers finished this season with a losing record and missed the playoffs? All jokes aside, and all hatred aside as well, you can't deny that this season for Green Bay was extremely disappointing on all levels. The offense took an extreme dip, and so did the defense, which might have been the biggest shock of them all, because the defense for the Packers last year was easily top 3 in the whole league, maybe even top 5. But this year, it just underperformed horribly, and I would know because I was a dumbass and picked their defense at the number 1 overall as my first pick in my fantasy draft. And I paid for that horribly. Thank you, you stupid fucking defense of the Green Bay Packers. Fuck you and anyway, I'll say the same thing about the Packers that I said about the Cowboys, and that it feels like the sun is really starting to set on this team, and especially this team's chances at making a Super Bowl run. Because I'm not going to lie, I've picked this team to go to the Super Bowl, not once but twice, 2 years in a row actually. They were my pick to go to the Super Bowl representing the NFC, and it hasn't happened. And I feel like the way this year went, that window is going to close very, very soon. And a lot of that has to do with the possibility surrounding Aaron Rodgers. What is the future of Aaron Rodgers? Nobody knows. Played with a severe lack of weapons, and he also played injured throughout pretty much the whole year with a broken thumb. So the question is this the last we see Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? Who knows? I fucking hope so, but we'll see. I mean, there are some bright spots forming for Green Bay, sadly. You got guys like Christian Watson who are developing and had some pretty nice development throughout the year. But for Aaron Rodgers, there's rumors that he's going to maybe the Jets, maybe the Niners, maybe the Raiders. Who knows? But all I'll say is this. Like I said, it feels like the sun is setting for this team, and there could be dark times ahead for this team, which I really hope so. Hey, but cheer up, Green Bay fans. Even if you guys are shit, you'll still find a way to own our dog shit franchise. Because at the end of the day, all we know is pain and nothing but pain. And it is hard being a Bears fan, man. I don't think it's much of a secret that the Saints miss Drew Brees. There's not much to really say about the Saints. I mean, they were just kind of there. They didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, Andy Dalton was starting for them at one point. He was okay. He wasn't bad by any means. He was a lot better on the Saints than he was on the Bears, but you know that's not a very hard thing to do. Don't expect much for the Saints heading into next year.
Yo, okay, time in this video, we're asking the Saints fan beating the Vikings. What?
So fun fact, the Washington Commanders were the only team in their division to not make the playoffs this year. I'm sure that makes a certain cool little dude 03 extremely happy. But the Commanders, they're a weird team. They really are. Like, I didn't think they were bad or anything this year. They were actually pretty decent this year. It's just they're very inconsistent, I think is the right word to use. Because one minute they'll have a game where they look great, and then the next minute they'll have a game where they just don't. They don't. Like, but they also had Carson Wentz starting for them. He did an okay job for the most part. I personally think Taylor Heineke is much better than Carson Wentz. I mean, he did win them more games, even though he's not the starter. They could have something with Heineke, but I don't know if he's really starting material. I don't know what they're going to do quarterback-wise. They could stick with Carson Wentz, or they could stick with Heineke. I really don't know what their plan is there, to be honest with you. What I do know, or at least what I think I know, I could be very much wrong about this, but this team has potential to be something. They can be. They've shown flashes over the past couple of years that they could be something. They just need that it factor. They got the defense for it. They just need a little more. Maybe a quarterback. Maybe a good starting quarterback. Something. They just need an it factor to them, because they could have something potentially. I wouldn't sleep on these guys. I would definitely keep my eyes out for the Washington Commanders here pretty soon. Maybe not next year, but sometime soon. These guys could maybe have something. Truly hail to the maybe not so dead skins. Maybe. This is currently the average Seahawks fan right now. I mean, you want to talk about a team that blew all the expectations they had out of the water, because my God, the Seahawks, who in the right mind thought that the Seahawks would actually be a really fucking fun team to watch in 2022 with Geno Smith as the quarterback, nonetheless. Geno Smith's got to be the most feel-good story in football coming out of this year. Dude was out here really slinging the rock like he was competing for some sort of MVP candidate, because the dude was just playing out of his fucking mind with Seattle this year. It was a really feel-good moment, because up until this point, Geno Smith was considered basically a wash to nobody. Well, I mean, everyone knew who he was, but nobody thought he was good. Everyone who saw Geno Smith thought that this guy did not have what it takes. And who could blame him? He didn't have a great few years in the NFL, but suddenly, out of nowhere, this dude just decides that he's just going to play the best ball of his entire career with the Seahawks, apparently. Man, I wish I could be a Seahawks fan. I could just be overhyping this team, because they could just be a one-year wonder, and then next year they get brought back down to reality, and then they really do become shit like everyone thought they would be. But I don't know. The vibe of this Seahawks team just feels different. There's a lot of talent on this team. It was a really fun team to watch as a whole. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, both had great years this year, like usual. But I don't know. They got a lot of good things on this team. And yeah, sure, they might have lost in the playoffs, but I mean, this team, it could go somewhere if they just play their cards right. I mean, whether Geno Smith is the long-term answer in Seattle or not, that remains to be seen. I'd say maybe give Geno a couple more years, and if he starts declining, maybe then invest in a QB in the draft, maybe, or maybe just to invest in a free agent, maybe. I don't know. I say give Geno Smith maybe a couple more years. If he's playing, if he continues to play how he played this year, I say maybe give him a couple more years. But if he starts declining, definitely invest in a long-term answer at QB for sure. It's looking pretty promising in Seattle, I'm not gonna lie.
Russell throws inside. Oh my God, it's picked off at the goal line.
I'm sorry, Seahawks fans, that was mean. I shouldn't have put that there. Here, I'll relive my pain with you.
That's impossible.
I don't even gotta say it. You fuckers know what you did. You know what you did. Like everyone and their mother knew that the Vikings were nothing but frauds. I fucking knew it. I called it. Everyone called it. They got Justin Jefferson. He's a fucking beast. Do not... If I was the Vikings, I would extend him for as long as you could, because he is the future at wide receiver. You guys got a good one there. I will give you that. And you guys had the biggest comeback win in NFL history. Down 33-0. That was impressive. But honestly, Kirk Cousins will only get you so far, and to be honest, I don't think he's ever going to lead these guys to a Super Bowl. As much as Vikings fans really hope that he does, it's just not going to happen. I don't think it is. But, you know, congrats on the wild card loss. Yeah. Skull, right? Why don't you skull these nuts? Hey, do you guys remember when the Panthers had Baker Mayfield as their starter this year?
Remember Chewbacca again? Oh, I love to remember Chewbacca.
Yeah, this Panthers team was not very good, but at the same time, they're also a very weird team because this is the same team who beat Tom Brady with P.J. Walker. That's right, XFL legend, Houston Roughnecks legend, P.J. Walker beat Tom Brady. Not just beat Tom Brady, kicked his ass. And then on top of that, Sam Darnold out of nowhere just decided to come back and start balling for the last couple of weeks of the season. And for whatever reason, dude was on like some sort of fucking revenge tour or something because he was just going crazy. Had people thinking that he was actually elite because he was playing elite. I also get told I look like Sam Darnold too. I don't know how much I believe that one, but I have been told it before. Panthers also had probably the coldest custom uniform this year out of any of the other teams. I mean, just the helmet is just, oh my goodness. Great, just great. I love this color. I love the colors together. It works so well. Please do this again, Panthers. Please. It is so sexy. In fact, the Bears could have had Brian Daboll if they were actually good at hiring coaches, but they're not. Instead, the Giants got him, and well, this proves 100% that Brian Daboll is in fact a good coach. He is a candidate for Coach of the Year for a reason. Dude took Danny Dimes and made him live up to his own nickname. Never thought that would have been possible. Plus, not to mention, Daniel Jones played probably hands down the best that he has ever played in a Giants uniform this season. He had the best season that he's ever had on the Giants this year. It's crazy what good coaching can do. I wish the Bears would know a thing or two about that. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about you fucking strong hand over here.
Oh, you're gonna fall unless you take my hand.
Nah, but in all seriousness though, Brian Daboll has built a winning culture down there in New Jersey. And in all honesty, if I was a Giants fan, I would be pretty excited for things to come for this team because it looks pretty promising so far. The future's pretty bright for the Giants. I'll give them that. God, I wish we had a good coach. Everyone makes fun of Kyler Murray for being small. The dude is 5'10". He's taller than me. I'm shorter than Kyler Murray. I don't know what that says about me, but I don't like. On paper, the Cardinals sound like a fantastic team. You got Kyler Murray as your quarterback. You got DeAndre Hopkins as your top receiver, your go-to guy. And then on the defense, you got J.J. Watt. On paper, this team sounds amazing. But in 2022, they were anything but. As a matter of fact, they were probably the worst team in the entire NFC West. Somehow a team with Kyler Murray, J.J. Watt, and DeAndre Hopkins somehow only managed to get 4 wins in a season. I don't know. I don't know if I blame the talent or if I blame the coaching. Coaching is definitely something that is an issue with this team. They just fired Cliff Kingsbury, and honestly, probably for the best, because he was not doing that team any favors whatsoever. So immediately that they're taking the right steps forward in order to become a more competent team. Do I think they'll be a more competent team next year? No. I think they'll be pretty middle of the pack. Same with the Rams. They'll be on par with the Rams. You know, they'll be slightly more improved next year, but it'll still more or less be kind of the same. And as for Kyler, well, I'm not sure if Kyler Murray wants to be on the Cardinals anymore. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think he wants to be on the Cardinals for much longer. So this could be the last year of Kyler Murray on the Cardinals. That would be interesting. I mean, the dude would probably be on his way to play some Call of Duty while being on another team, but that's just me though.
A little bit. I just spit a little bit.
Oh my fucking god!
The Lions have had probably the saddest fan base in the entire league for years. But I got a feeling that that's all going to change here really soon. And here's why. Because of this man, Dan Campbell. This man has single-handedly changed the entire outlook of this Lions team. Has changed the culture, has changed everything to a very positive vibe with this Lions team. I can't even believe I'm saying this right now. Especially about the Lions, but honestly, if the Lions keep going in the trajectory that they're going in right now, and with the sun setting on the Packers and the Vikings from the looks of things, the Lions have a real chance of being the new kings of the North. Potentially. They could be. If they keep the momentum that they have right now, this team could be scary. They could be. And that's kind of exciting, even though it is a division rival. I would love to see the Lions be good, because even though they're a division rival, I can't help but like them. Like, they're the most likable team in the NFL, and you can thank Dan Campbell for that. And in all honesty, well, I'm not a Lions fan, but if you're a Lions fan, you should be able to pick your head up for once, because I think you have a good reason to be excited about this team in the next upcoming years. Yeah, sure, they missed out on the playoffs. They went 9-8. So, I mean, it's not like they had the greatest year ever, but they finished this year with a winning record. And considering the fact that they won 3 games the year before. So the fact that they did that and then got to this year and won 9 games and finished with a winning record. Granted, yeah, they missed the playoffs, but still, that is a humongous improvement. And Dan Campbell clearly cares a lot about this team, so this team could be a playoff contender. They'll definitely be a playoff contender if they keep this up. The future's pretty bright in Detroit, so if you're a Lions fan, I'd be excited.
Tired of losing?
Chip Kelly! What's up with it, cuz?
EP's favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles, is Super Bowl bound and the best team in the NFC. However, I do not think that they are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to pull out some bullshit and do what the magic shit that he does, and he's going to pull out the W by throwing to a couple of nobodies and Travis Kelce, because that's just what the Chiefs do. As for the Eagles, I mean, they made it to the Super Bowl. Obviously, they had a great year. And on top of that, they had a very easy road to the Super Bowl as well. So, honestly, I want the Eagles to win because, fuck the Chiefs. But, honestly, they've had a good year, but I just don't think that they'll be able to get the job done. Obviously, I'm hoping that they do. But, I don't think that's going to be the case. But I swear to God, if we see this motherfucker twerking his ass cheeks in the Chiefs' end zone during the Super Bowl, I might throw my TV out the window and hit an elbow drop with it off the top of my fucking roof, because I got... Also, they came out with a very Philly Christmas, or whatever the fuck it was called. It was awesome. Jason Kelce has the voice of a fucking angel. Big Cock Brock is about to stunt on you fools. Or at least that would have been the case if Philly didn't decide to murder Brock Purdy's arm in the middle of the NFC Championship game, only allowing him to throw 4 fucking passes the whole game. It really took a while for the Niners to really get going this season. I mean, they started off with a rough loss to the Bears of all teams to kick off the season, but it feels like once they picked up Christian McCaffrey, that was when their season really turned around for the better. And then, of course, you know, they were riddled with injuries in the quarterback position, but Brock Purdy came in and he got the job done. Brock Purdy was cooking throughout his whole time until he got hurt, which sucks because I wanted Brock Purdy to go to the Super Bowl. I was rooting for him, you know? I wanted it to happen, but never happened. Never happened. But honestly, if I'm San Fran, I'm not. If I'm a fan of the Niners, I'm not worried, because if San Fran was this good this year, they'll be fine. They'll be back in the playoffs next year, more than likely. As for who the starting quarterback's going to be, that I'm a little not sure of. There's rumors Aaron Rodgers might be showing up. There's rumors that he might get traded there. Who knows? But I mean, if Brock Purdy does what he did last year, if he still can, if his arm's not falling off by then, maybe Brock Purdy could be the starter. Maybe. That's a maybe. I mean, he performed well in the playoffs until he got hurt. But I don't know. I would consider maybe making Brock Purdy the starter if you get rid of Garoppolo and maybe hold on to Trey Lance. And man, I kind of feel bad for Trey Lance too, because he didn't get to do that much because he got hurt early in the season. So we haven't even seen what Trey Lance is capable of. Meanwhile, Brock Purdy's over here cooking up a storm. So I mean, it's up to the Niners really, but I think we all know who we want to cook for the Niners. And that's Big Cock Brock. Also, can I just say, I love Robbie Gould so much. Even though he's not a Bear anymore, I still love that man. I miss him. Can you come back to the Bears, please?
Toss to White. He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Brady has his fifth.
Sorry to bring up the past, but it's something that needs to be brought up because the Falcons cannot stop joking. I swear they're addicted to it. They have to be. There's no way they're not. But the thing is that the Falcons could have potentially won the NFC South this year. They could have. The division was so shit. They had a genuine shot at actually winning the division with 7 wins. Fuck the Buccaneers for getting 8, because I wanted to see the Falcons win it, just for the chaotic nature that would follow with it. But as for the Falcons, they weren't that impressive this year. They weren't much of anything, really. I mean, they had Marcus Mariota as their quarterback, and Desmond Ridder, which Desmond Ridder showed promise. Showed a lot more promise than Marcus Mariota, but at this point, Marcus Mariota has nothing to prove at this point. Well, I mean, he does, but I don't know. I think the door is slowly closing on Mariota for sure. Someone who is not getting the door closed on him, though, is Kyle Pitts. They should utilize that kid more often because Kyle Pitts is a fucking weapon when used correctly. Easily up there with some of the best tight ends in the league right now. And if you build a whole receiving core around that, you got something there. They're missing Calvin Ridley for sure. But still, yeah, 28-3 was pretty bad, but it's alright, Falcons fans. It could be a lot worse. You could always be a Bears fan. And believe me, nobody wants that. Unless if you're a dumbass like me, which if that's the case, then God help us all.